Hi everyone and welcome to another episode of Living on Blockchain. Today we are speaking to Alex. Alex earlier was the general manager at Binance Dubai. Currently he is using his expertise in navigating the regulatory complexities of the crypto industry and is also focused on leveraging his expertise once again in blockchain, decentralized finance and contributing and helping other founders. So considering he's played quite a pivotal role in establishing Binance's operation in the Middle East, this was a very, very interesting conversation from the perspective of regulation, compliance, also just building and scaling. I can't wait for you guys to hear this. Let's deep dive right in. Hi, Alex. Thank you so much for making the time to speak to me today. How are you doing?
I'm very well, and thank you for having me for conversation.
The pleasure is all mine. I'm glad that we can both make the time to do this conversation. For our listeners, let's set a little context. Can you tell us a little about yourself and your journey into Web3?
Fantastic. So I was a physics grad moving into finance, worked in London, trade interest rates, did that for a while, traded a few other products. My trading career, oil, gold, index futures, stock index futures. Then after witnessing the credit crisis, where Bitcoin was born, Bitcoin was obviously an answer to some of the problems. So I was aware of it very early. Fortunately, didn't invest very early, but we were aware of it, talked about it, interesting conversations about his money, which very philosophical as well. Moved into setting up trading brokers on Cyprus offshore. And then in 2016, I exited a company in FX and decided that I should be getting involved in crypto. Time becoming a little bit more mainstream. The sort of post Ethereum, so during the ICO boom, where people were creating tokens, creating excitement, looking at new ideas for centralized network, and it was the first sort of explosion of mainstream trading as well. So then Bitcoin went to start trading futures. So I helped a few businesses set up their interaction crypto at that point. And then in 2018, NEGM, Abu Dhabi Global Market, released guidance to adding crypto into their framework. So I went to go set up an exchange, crypto exchange and MTF in Abu Dhabi. And then in 2022, I joined Binance to help them set up their exchange in Dubai. So, that was an interesting journey. So, I've been involved in sort of crypto infrastructure for quite some time, but I love learning about new themes, the activity, just the crypto ecosystem moves so quick, and I find that
Absolutely. I think this is one of the more dynamic industries. It does move very, very quickly. And you've been there at the helm of perhaps helping Binance with setting up their operations as well in the Middle East. Can you shed a little light on your advocacy work, which is what you're doing currently?
So I am helping a number of different projects in the Middle East. So I left Binance last summer, and Binance moved to the Middle East and UAE specifically because there's alignment from top down to really enable Web3 and blockchain businesses, because they can see that this is a technology for the future. And here in UAE, we're always looking at each other, always looking to build, and so it's important that you have long-term vision when you want to grow business. So that's what led Binance to establish probably the largest number of people in the country, because of the long-term alignment. That's important. So now I'm helping a lot of businesses come to the and so choose from the various number of regulators, jurisdictions, the ones that work for you. So here we're looking at regulation as a name. So there's a lot of different options to come grow businesses here, but easier to grow just because of the infrastructure. It's easy to live and move here. It's also easy to service global economy. This is in crypto, blockchain. It's a global business, much like the internet, right? You can serve people from everywhere very quickly. Very traditional business rings from geography. Being in the Middle East, the time zone is fantastic. Service Asia, Far East, and Middle East, and then Europe within sort of a day. So it's an exciting place to be, and I think we're pushing for it to be the central point, the focal point of blockchain innovation.
Right. Yeah, I think you're right. Being in the Middle East comes with its own advantages, and the way it is kind of creating that perception in the world as a hub for crypto. I think that has done wonders for just the way I think a lot of people had used to perceive Middle East. Now that has changed, and how the kind of investment that is coming in, the builders that are moving there, all of that is obviously adding to that particular narrative.
Yeah, I mean, I moved here a decade ago now, 10 years, and I am always, well, towards the start, very astounded by the level of innovation and growth. And now I'm not so surprised, and I'm sort of aligned and predicting that we're going to continue to see that. Rightly so, it's an emerging market, and so it's easier to grow emerging market than the more established market. And that's again one of the things that the region aligns well with blockchain and crypto. It's a growth industry, growth market, and it's like a symbiotic relationship. We're able to benefit from the growth establishment of this new industry.
Yes, absolutely. I get that. Alex, your voice is a little muffled. Can you do something about that? Hi, are you still here?
Yeah.
Yeah, your voice is a little muffled. Is there something that can be done about that?
I've increased the volume now.
Okay. All right. Okay. On to the next question then. I am, we're talking a lot about basically the advantages that are there currently with the kind of policy that the Middle East is coming up with and Dubai is coming up with, encouraging innovation and startups. But I'm sure that there are some unique challenges as well that you must have encountered while operating in the Middle East. Would you like to talk a little about that and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, so I think the challenges are again, going back to the same thing that we have going for it. Like because it's an emerging market, not everything is as well established. So, the things that have been established and the infrastructure that's new is obviously easy to use and help one quick, but you don't have that established labor pool for one. There's you need to sort of import people because there's not so much of a native workforce, especially for sort of new products. So it's scaling and human capital is the most difficult thing to overcome in this region. But as we mentioned, there's been a lot of work from the authorities here to make it attractive for people to come. So new schools, sports equipped facilities, infrastructure, hospitals, public transport is supply as well. So it's important, so easy for people to come. And as you mentioned, 10, 20 years ago, it wasn't on people's radar, but luckily, with sports sponsorships and things like that, UAE is on its radar globally, and it's being talked about. So it's easier to bring people here.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I think that is true, but that will rapidly change as well, like you mentioned, also in your answer. So, what were the kind of biggest takeaways from leading, Binance Dubai, and how has that experience kind of shaped your perspective in the industry? I know that you've kind of touched upon this in the earlier answer, but I would love some specific pointers that you which were your biggest takeaways because you worked in Binance Dubai.
So for Binance, it was important, and this from the previous CEO CZ. Once you become the market leader, especially in this industry, it's important to lead by example. And so this was important, Dubai, the regulator was established and virtual asset specific regulator. We work closely with regulator Ivara. And so it's important to understand that, the regulator's goal as well as Binance's goal, consumer protection and making sure that people have safe trading environment and have the experience that they accept. So it was important for Binance to, especially where sometimes there's negative perceptions from people that don't understand. It's important to lead by example and to educate. And so this is something that everyone can look at. So it's important to educate customers on blockchain, on crypto, and for them to understand the benefits that you can present to them and why they're using crypto. Not everything needs to always be decentralized, but where you have decentralized systems, there are advantages to that. So making sure that people understand and educated is super important to the success of it.
Right, I totally agree. So, we've kind of touched upon obviously the takeaways. I would love to know a little about your perspective on the regulatory landscape when it comes to decentralized technologies, because that is something that is constantly evolving. Based on your experience, what are the kind of key ingredients for regulatory success in emerging markets? Because I think obviously the Middle East is pioneering and kind of championing it and moving forward in the right direction. But there are many other countries that are lagging, and they would perhaps want to create a regulatory landscape in their jurisdiction, which would foster innovation. What do you think are the key ingredients that enable policymakers to do that?
So the same thing is, as we said, to grow businesses as well. It's education. So it's understanding the infrastructure, companies, product allow you to make better, more informed decisions, right? So often we have ill-informed decision. It's a lottery of whether you make the right choice. So for any new jurisdiction, it's important to bring in, understand crypto, understand the product, and understand what you're trying to do. And again, regulation should be an enabler, and it should be helping to build your economy. Right. So if you're looking to have people set up businesses within your jurisdiction, it's important you give them a place for them to operate in a way that's beneficial for everybody. Yeah, it's all about sort of win-win, having regulation to give people comfort that you're regulating business, but then having those guide rails protection. And it's important that the regulators get involved with crypto. Trying to regulate from arm's length academic standpoint, I don't think works. I think you need to experience, play with the technology to sort of understand purely academic interactions with crypto. I think that.
I think that's a very good perspective, very insightful as well. Where you said that the government cannot really regulate from a arm's length distance. They need to get involved. They need to understand it better, and then they create policy around it. Talking of policy, I think I'd be remiss if we didn't touch upon the new president in USA and how Trump is aiming to, and I think that he has just a few hours ago signed on some executive orders aiming for a strategic reserve of crypto and allowing banks to get who will have custody of crypto and many other favorable things. What is your take on that? How do you think this is going to have an impact on the market?
So it's very positive, and this is what we were expecting. There was lots of positive discussion prior from this administration coming in, so that expectation. And previously, for the last administration, for 4 years, crypto has not been looked at favorably. There's been innovation's been stifled, and what's happened is lots of people that were in the USA have moved abroad and built technology companies, businesses outside of the US. That's not what President Trump wants to see, right? So he wants to see things repatriated. He wants to see America leading this crypto economy. So he's removing a lot of the problems that were in regulatory problems that were in the US. So you rightly said that the executive order came out, signed yesterday, and it's to promote access to public blockchains, supporting US dollar stable tokens, enable fair banking services, and a big push to create regulatory clarity for blockchain, which he's looking to replicate what's happened in the Middle East, where people have moved here and building businesses here. The economy. That's the aim of what's happening.
Yeah, I do feel that these are positive signs for the industry because it helps with the perception problem that decentralized technology has kind of always battled for over the years. I would also like to touch upon on a macro level in the market because you've been around for a while. What are the kind of niches do you think that are very exciting at the moment, and you see the most innovation and more substance being created in these niches?
So there are, I guess, 3 sectors that are looking to really capitalize and have great years this year. So the first sector is RWA, real world assets. And again, this is something we looked at trying to do in 2016, 2017, where putting property on the blockchain or asset on the blockchain. And I think we're a lot closer. So I think the legal frame catching up, because this was probably the main thing that's hindering some of the innovation. And so we're seeing announcements in the UAE about big developers putting their assets in the chain. So RWAs are a big narrative here. Second narrative, I think we call DePIN, the decentralized physical infrastructure. And so what that means is individuals via crypto can provide infrastructure, so compute, so using their computers, using some of their data. We have wireless carriers in the US where people are sort of sharing their data touch points. We have mapping, cameras, and all of this information being fed into the digital economy by crypto. And so the consumers of this information are paying by crypto, whereas traditionally, a centralized or third party would be involved, right? So we present information to that party and then third party sell it. And so we're abstracting away that intermediary by putting things blockchain. So that's something that now these projects are starting to, they've had experimental phases. They're starting to get to the right size of network that they're profitable. So that's super exciting. And now we're seeing with large language models, small language models, AI agents. So, we saw the birth of ChatGPT, I think in 2021 or 2022. So we're sort of 3 years in, a few different generations of AI agents. We have AI agents X. And so we're seeing these AI agents integrate into the crypto ecosystem, and they can then interact with wallet and become sort of participants in economies, right? So they can pay for things, they can pay for data, pay for whatever the agent required to do. If you empower an agent to do something, if they have a crypto wallet, they have the ability to interact outside of their environment. So we're seeing that. So I think these are three main sectors that excite us.
Right, I do feel that, I kind of agree with you. RWA, the time seems now, as against when it was initially talked about, because there was no framework around it. And DeepIn seems to be gaining momentum as well. And, with the advent, more and more advent of AI and now AI agents, I think the use case, like you mentioned, that, the agent becomes a user themselves in this transaction. I think that is going to create some very wonderful use cases. Are there any particular use cases with AI and decentralized tech that actually exist at the moment that are very exciting for you?
I think for the AI agents, they're a tiny bit too early. I think, the thing, the crypto, you see things as soon as they're built, and it takes some time to develop. I've seen, talks about having trading and investment and risk management all built into sort of a group of AI agents as a sort of experiment. Because again, then that sort of cluster or swarm of agents can interact and act accordingly on their decision making. I know I've seen in the US food ordering AI agents that help navigate the ordering, collection, and delivery of food. So just as a use case, testing out them interact Coinbase wallet. But yeah, I think that the AI agent will see them better defined. I think it's still a bit experiment. Same with crypto, right? It's still experimenting. Crypto comes from the individual retail. Normally, when we see products, they've come from institutions and been well tested and vetted, and then they're sort of deployed on us at the last mile with very clean and polished, unlike crypto, which often has the nuts and bolts exposed, and maybe the user experience polished as we'd like.
Right. So now let's talk a little about the talent issue that the blockchain industry continues to face in terms of attracting non-technical talent. What are the kind of ways you feel that we can become more inclusive for people outside of tech? And what are the kind of skills that are very undervalued but essential for building a sustainable business in this space?
Also, we talked about sort of education. I think as crypto now is moving into the mainstream, we said Donald Trump, President Trump, is bringing these conversations front and center. So it allows us to have a sort of a better sort of perception. And so, when people are leaving, school or university, there's not such stigma towards the industry. So I think that that's beneficial. So I think it's just continuing to paint the industry in a positive light. And then, the specific skill sets aren't too dissimilar to any business, right? Most of these businesses are sort of consumer facing. So you need the full range of talent, right? So it's not just the blockchain developers, it's people in user experience, handling the journeys, handling interaction between dialogue, messaging, email, marketing, brand perception. So at the end of the day, crypto is the infrastructure for consumer-centric tools. So much of the same skill sets that we've seen for some of these large Web2 companies are just as valuable Web3, except the push is the consumer isn't the product. Yeah, to your data, your information was given to the centralized counterparty in return. So now Web3 we compensate users for that activity. So I think it's much more equitable.
Right. That is something to think about. That gives you a little to ponder upon. If you could design perhaps the next major innovation, what problem would you aim to solve?
Oof, it's a tough one.
Yeah.
Um, that's the multi-billion-dollar question, right? Because
Right.
we're all racing solve. Yeah, I think anything to do with data, right? I think like I mentioned in my last answer, where the Web2, the consumer is the product, right? And so I think we can start rewarding people better for their sort of interactions. I guess something people are more familiar with, like loyalty. I think loyalty and interaction with businesses can be better administered, so much more direct. It allows you to have these sort of micro payments. It allows you to, as a business, you can airdrop people value, whether it's tickets, information, or all point, and have less value loss. Right. This is one of particular sticking points for building in crypto is they want to reduce the bloat of the intermediaries. Right. Too many intermediaries dilutes the value that goes down to the end user. Crypto allows peer-to-peer mechanism, decentralized mechanism, low overhead, and so giving people a better experience at lower cost.
Right. Yeah, I think those are interesting reflection points to sort of work on. And these are pointers that kind of have, they've stood the test of time. And as you mentioned before, like as crypto is becoming a little more mainstream, I think that these would become super relevant again because data is ultimately what kind of makes the world go round. So I think I concur with you there. What has been perhaps the most surprising lesson that you have learned about this industry that you didn't expect when just got around started?
I mean, I'm surprised how many products get built for your user experience. I think there's a big rush, and so because of the speed of innovation, things and products get released with like poor user experience, and that's turned people away, right? So I mean, if you look at wallets, they're a bit clunky and difficult to use, improved a lot, but having your assets on a device that you can lose and not recover is something extremely tough. People need to be consistently warned. Their traditional services, banking, socials about have phishing attacks, have good digital safety. Crypto is extremely more problematic because the assets you can once you transfer them, there's no back. So that safety net gone. So I think industry we need to be a bit more careful with what we build and how we build it because difficult for the average user to interact and it's just something seen.
Okay. In terms of your own personal journey, where do you see yourself? You are obviously helping out startups at the moment, but where do you see yourself in, say, the next 12 months to 18 months in this space? What would define personal success for you?
I think interactive. Well, I think just the growth of the industry in region low, right? I'd like yeah, I think that we should see a mainstream crypto project becoming sort of a global leader in whatever it does. business. I think we're at that point. I think technology is catch up to be able to enable us. Things like account abstraction, which allows you to set up wallets, recover wallets using Web2 application. I think that's a big and yeah, just looking for a big positive year globally. Right, talk again about regulation. The US becoming net positive or having a big positive bias. And so that should increase the speed of innovation, right? So America unlocked, Middle East making a big push to grow and establish those businesses here. I'm just looking at expansion globally.
That's interesting, I think. If you could mention like one startup or project in the Web3 space right now, what qualities would you look for in the team or the concept?
So within the teams, the team needs to have a focus. Often it's across any industry where you have people raising money and then deciding to do later, a bit of a problem sometimes. So a focus on a particular product. Have the background to be able to do it, I guess. A bit of track record. Again, a lot of crypto founders are much younger than additional founders. Because normally the normal journey for a founder, not that traditionally you would have worked in industry 10, 15 years within a similar sort of business, and then you decide to set up yourself and go raise some money or bootstrap it and then grow the business. But crypto it enables people from day zero, feeling code, being a teenager. You can start smart contracts and raise money through a myriad of different. So the threshold to raise generally a little lower. And so I would look for slightly more established people, maybe built one or two projects. Or crypto's been around for long enough now, 3 crypto startup. And I think that experience would help. That's what I look for the most, of the experience in the team rather than maybe the shiniest tech.
Yeah, I think the experience would shine more than the next big shiny thing, which a lot of founders tend to move towards and start building. So yeah, I think experience does matter, and especially in the space where there is a lot of learning and unlearning required. When you are more experienced, you're better equipped to sort of deal with the kind of issues that arise from being building day to day in crypto. So I think I would agree with you there. We are really running out of time, so I'd ask you 2 more questions before we wrap this up. But I think there's one question that has been on my mind for a bit. You have had a lot of experience in regulatory frameworks and just sort of scaling a business and creating a sustainable business. How can traditional financial institutions best perhaps collaborate with these upcoming startups? That is one part of the question, and the other part is startups usually are low on resources. So how do you feel can they create frameworks from the very beginning to be on the right side of the regulatory framework?
Okay, so I guess two things. So often banks and bigger institutions have to sort of enter this field. They sort of empower a team who are either at sort of arm's length or sort of external to sort of build a product and then bring them internal once the product's a little. And I think that speaks to the speed and innovation in crypto is difficult to maintain within a more rigorous, especially financial infrastructures. When you run a regular product, you have to very defined control process and change control, which does itself to make that speed. So I've seen before this other financial innovations happen within sort of sandboxes, and so again that sort of nods to understand that within the sort of formal confines of regulatory, it's difficult to innovate in this manner. And so I think banks, other institutions need to sort of empower founders through investment grant that mannerism to grow businesses and then bring those business internally with product right. And for sort of startup founders, sort of start zero in the regular process. You before it was more expensive and difficult to manage. I think it due to the fact that the uncertainty in regulations, regulatory standing. But I think now we have a lot more regulatory clarity and certainty. So whether you'll business need. So you need to just make that decision. It's difficult to think otherwise. So if your business needs to be regulated, you need to go down that path. Otherwise, you're taking a large risk, which I don't think is appropriate. So it's not as expensive as it might because there is clarity. So more providers are able to help. I mean, ways that you don't need to take in people's time, especially consulting, legal, regulatory, and oversight. So the mechanisms like we can have fractional CMOs, fractional CTOs, fractional CFOs, all of these sort of mechanisms allow you to do some of these services, but without cost.
Right. I think, I kind of agree with you there. Obviously, earlier it used to be very exorbitant, but now that might not necessarily be the case. And ensuring that at least you're aware of the regulatory landscape and creating smaller frameworks so that, you stay on the right path can be very important for any entrepreneur, because otherwise the kind of debt you incur, not like tangible debt, but this is debt in terms of compliance that you incur can be really huge and can really bite you in the future.
Yes.
So, Alex, this has been such a beautiful conversation. I love how, you made this journey from, somebody who was not into Web3, then somebody who was into Web3, working and leading finance in the Middle East, which is one of the more exciting places to work in, and now, consulting startups. I think I would be remiss if I didn't ask you this one question that I ask everybody who comes on the show. Considering, you've had quite a clear journey as well, what would be your suggestions for folks who are still skeptical about this space, so that they can truly start living on blockchain?
Like we talked about with the regulators, you have to experience more. You have to use the product. You have to bed yourself, or you have to bed yourself in. It's very difficult to truly have a judgment on something unless you experience, right? Again, it's about some regulators having problems with over academic ideas, but this is the same point. I think to have an opinion strong opinion on this, to engage and use the product. You still might not like product, but you definitely need to engage, create a wallet, use some blockchain dApps, send some transactions. This is the best way to sort of know what's, we still, people that have been in this industry a long time, we overlook some of the shortcomings of the business and user experience, but we're trying to make it better. So I think getting involved with investing, not for everyone, but it's definitely an exciting work. And
I agree. I think that's a wonderful note to end the episode on. This might not be for everyone, but it can be a wonderful space to be in. So thank you so much once again, Alex, for making the time to speak to me today. This has been a wonderful conversation, very insightful. Any last words, parting thoughts before we wrap this up?
Thank you for having me. And, podcasts like this are important. It's a great way. People are now consuming information and learn. So, yeah, thank you for.
Thank you so much for your kind words. And yes, I do believe that ultimately it's the onus of the builders to sort of correct the narrative and correct the perception. So thank you for agreeing to come on this show. And this has been a great, I think it's been very insightful.